Welcome to Perform Like a Star with Dr. Jack Bowman. Today he interviews Holly Manning, Part 1. Over half a century of research on mental skills training and its importance on performance under pressure has demonstrated the critical impact of two psychological skills: self-confidence and mental toughness. In this two-part series, we have the opportunity to speak to an elite international distance runner who has demonstrated how each of these factors, self-confidence and mental toughness, has assisted her in performing at her best in two races leading up to the National NCAA Championship. With us today is Holly Manning.
Hi, thanks for
Hi,
having me.
Holly. Thank you so much for coming and being part of the Mind Plus Muscle Perform Like a Star series. Speaking about confidence, let's take a look at this first race in the series. Tell us about this race and how you built your confidence up prior to the race and how that manifested itself in the race we're about to watch. What kinds of things gave you that ability to feel that extraordinary sense of confidence? Because this was an important race that you had targeted for a long time as something that you really wanted to accomplish your best performance in.
Yeah, so it was the conference race, and not only did I want to
What conference were you racing in, Holly?
the CAA, the Colonial Athletic Association. So
Okay.
I was new to the conference because I just transferred. I had big goals for myself, and I think other people had big expectations for what I was going to do. So I wanted to win. I wanted to get the school record. I wanted to qualify for regionals. Um, and I wanted to PR. So those are like
Wow. That's kind of like the four the ace, the queen, the king, and the jack. You wanted
yeah.
the whole package. So you went in there with a tremendous amount of desire to do exactly what you were hoping and striving to do. I mean, you really were putting a lot of emphasis on getting that done.
Yeah. And I think any other year, it would have been too much. I think mentally I would have been psyched out about all of those things that I had to do. But this year was different because I had not only put in the physical work, but I put in the mental work with you to know how to deal with those nerves and those feelings by thinking of all like drawing from the well like we were talking about and making the mental plan and just being so confident in my ability to be able to go out and do these things. Like there was no doubt about it. Like I've never ever been so confident about myself, and I
Mhm.
hope I can bring that that confidence back for other seasons because
Well, yeah.
yeah, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that was actually really impressive with how confident I was. So,
Well, that's why we're talking about this, because it was a remarkable event for you, both physically in terms of what you accomplished, but also psychologically. This was a hallmark moment. So let's watch the video of the race, and then afterwards we can talk about going back like 72 hours. How did you get that confidence? How did you build it? What kinds of strategies sequentially did you use building up to the race to where you, once you got there, as you said, this was the most confident you'd ever been? So let's take a moment now and watch the Colonial Conference 800-meter championship race.
All right, back to the 800. Is about ready to start this. The official has them take their mark. Watch Holly Manning, lane 5. Keep an eye on her as well as Jessica Harding, both Delaware Blue Hens, and they are out in front. Are the Blue Hens, and it is Holly Manning. As we get some separation from the two leaders. That's Lucinda Schatz and Holly Manning out front. Schatz of Northeastern, Manning from Delaware. The rest of the pack back a bit. Stephanie Lair is leading the rest of the group. And it is Manning out in front. Manning opening up a little bit of distance on Schatz. Schatz came in with a time of 2:17.30 for Manning, 2:11 flat. And Manning is pulling away. Manning down the back stretch. She's got a sizable lead. Looking at gold, silver. Seems to be in control of Schatz. There will be a battle for the bronze. Here comes Holly Manning. Right behind her is Lucy Schatz. Schatz losing a little ground, however. She might get caught. Schatz losing. And here comes the other.
Well, Holly, that was an incredible performance. And as you crossed the finish line, that was kind of the peak of what you had prepared yourself for. That was the ultimate time that you wanted to get to and experience. And actually, I remember you had shared with me that you actually could feel the feelings of that excitement when you were doing your imagery as part of your preparation for the race. But if we could go back 72 hours, 3 days before the race, can you tell me a little bit about the actual mental strategies and mental skills that you used building up to the race that allowed you to get to that place where that ultimate sense of confidence and achievement crossing the finish line?
Yeah. So I think it was about 3 days before the race, I wrote out my mental plan,
Okay.
which consisted of what were my goals, so performance goals, what were my mental goals, what kind of things am I drawing from the well
Hmm.
to help me either before the race or during the race.
So you were planning on you wrote down in this plan
Mhm.
the things that you knew that you were going to focus on to make you feel confident, bring that confidence up. That was you wrote down what you were going to draw from the well. Terrific. And
Yes.
then what was the next part of the plan?
So then I had a pre-start focus. So before the race, what kind of things was I going to think about? And then the during event focus. So obviously an 800 is pretty short, but you can kind of separate it into, I separated mine into 200. So the first 200, the second 200, the third 200, the fourth 200.
Okay, let's stop there for a minute, Holly. If you can go back to what you put into that plan, what was the most important thing that you were planning on, that you really decided this is what I'm going to do in these parts? Can you talk a little bit about what you wrote down in your plan?
Yeah. So my performance goal was, as I said, I had like 4 of them: winning, getting a PR, qualifying for regionals. But a PR equaled all of those things. So
So that was a very intensive and demanding goal
yeah.
that brought your challenge up. I really am feeling challenged.
Mhm.
So that really was a good thing to have in your plan, to know that you were going to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, like no holding back. And
So
then
what kinds of things did you drawing from your well?
I, it was fact. Like, I'm the fastest I've ever been. So why can't I run the fastest I've ever been?
So that knowing that you were in that incredible condition and you were the fastest, that knowledge, just reminding yourself of that, that brought up a tremendous sense of confidence, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, because like, as I just said, how could I not run a PR if I'm running PRs and workouts and everything else? So
I got it in the well, let's use it.
yep, exactly.
Okay. So what about your pre-start focus? What did you decide that you were going to focus on in your plan?
The biggest one for me, and this was like an overall theme of the whole season, was having an attitude of gratitude, because obviously this was a year after COVID. Well, during COVID, we didn't even know if we were going to compete. I got an extra year of eligibility. I got the opportunity to transfer. Like, at this point, I was just so thankful for being able to have made it to conference. We were actually running, like, COVID didn't interrupt it. I didn't have an injury. I was in the best shape of my
So
life.
there's a tremendous amount of things to be grateful for and have gratitude.
Yeah, and no reason to not wanna be there. Like, that just when you're so nervous and you're like, "Oh, I don't even know like, why am I doing this?" There was none of that this year because
Mhm.
I knew exactly what it felt like the year before to not be racing and to not be in shape, and, like, this is my thing, like, I love to race, so why have any of those feelings? Like, just be super thankful, and that was the biggest thing for me all year, I think. And
That's
then
terrific. So you chose to focus on something that was so meaningful and important to you the entire year. So tapping into that had a tremendous kind of base of energy and just could really be solid. You could really feel solid before that race.
yeah.
What about, refocusing? Did, in terms of when pain would come up or it was time to really push it to the limit? What was your plan on how to refocus, or if your mind got drifted off or you started to get pulled away?
Yeah, my refocusing plan was basically drawing from the well. Again, so remembering that I'm the fastest I've ever been. I actually put down, so I have critical points. So, my first critical point was the first moment of doubt. And my refocus for that was there's no room for doubt when I've prepared the way that I have. Like, there was nothing else that I could have done more to prepare for that. So why have any doubt? And then like 6 years or more have led to this moment. Like, I'm not going to throw it away by just doubting myself, which is something that I did, for 5 years before that. Like, any doubt, I didn't have a plan for refocusing. And then
So
I
that go ahead. That was
I
critical, wasn't it? I mean, and some of your colleagues, some of your runners who were also that you'd run with or had been teammates with for years, also had suggested that you kind of focus on that critical time when the doubt would you knew the doubt would come in at some point, and how to just basically say, I know you're there, go away. I'm in charge of this race, not you.
yeah.
That was so important that you had that in your plan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was because I actually think that that made me feel less nervous because I had a plan for what I was gonna do when I didn't feel good. And the best advice I've ever gotten for the 800 is it's not gonna feel good. It feels terrible. It's really hard. And just accepting that it's really hard instead of making me feel nervous, I'm like, yeah, it is really hard. And when it gets really hard, I have something to think about that will spur me on to keep me going. Because before it was just a mess in my head, like, oh, this is really hard. What am I doing? But and then fall flat and not run fast. And now it's like, yep, hello, acknowledging that thought and then just letting it go and refocusing was so helpful.
Well, what you just described obviously was a plan to kind of be mindful, acknowledge that it's there, notice it, and let it go, and come back to really exactly where you wanted to be. So even the awareness that it was going to come up, the anticipation it was going to come up, that was helpful because when it did come up, you said, "Okay, good, there it is. Here's my plan," and didn't really let it distract you. It was kind of you took it in stride, literally. What would you recommend to a young runner coming up, as you know, having gone for many years from being a very young runner to an intermediate runner to now an elite veteran runner? What would you suggest to them in terms of what kinds of mental skills that they should develop early on?
Treating your mind as you treat your body, like, we roll out, we stretch after running or before, whatever your routine is to make your legs feel good. You have to do that for your mind as well. And it took me so long to learn that. And it even took me, like, as I just hit the end of this season, to even like remember, like, oh, yeah, that's what I was doing all season is helping my mind because it's so crucial.
And then in our next video, we'll be talking about how you created and developed a sense of mental toughness in prior to a race where there was such tremendous adversity and things that could have distracted you or caused you to be not confident at all, and found ways to use mental toughness as your vehicle for success. Well, Holly, thank you so much for joining us today in our Perform Like a Star series, and I look forward to our next meeting.
Me too. Thank you.